And we're back in the room. That is totally my bad. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Coffee Run Live with me, your host, Nicola Moraz. I am coming to you very much live and having completely stuffed up in my calendar a radio interview that happened this morning, and I've got another one in about 20 minutes. So I'm just going to punch on in with this because I think it's really important. So one of the things that I think is crucial and critical in your marketing is for you to be able to follow flow. I also think it's really crucial and critical for you to have some structure, right? So it's kind of this balance between structure and flow. So when it comes to the structure, we've got a framework that you're able to work within, but then you've also got to have the space to be able to flow and work with what it is that comes up. So I guess like the thing that's happened recently, hey Jeanette, one of the things that's happened recently has been, and I've been testing this year, has been doing things still super strategically, but differently, right? So building and growing the muscle. And there was an interesting thought that got raised yesterday, actually, about that prompted the post yesterday, just about whether or not, it raised the question for me about whether or not I was being very clear in what it is that I'm doing and what it is that I'm talking about and what it all kind of ties into. So I think for me, the thing that that I'm always about and have been particularly vocal about over the last particularly 18 months, 2 years, is about you being really visible, showing up. I've been talking about it for years, actually. But really, I think the thing that we've got to remember is that when you're following flow, when you're following your intuition, and when you're following these different things, sometimes you might hit a speed bump, right? Where someone says, oh, I don't really get it, or I'm not sure that this is really like the right thing to do, or maybe, it just doesn't even tie in. Now, that doesn't mean that we kind of go, bleh, you know what, I'm done, this is shit, it doesn't work, la, 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 la. The thing to do is to always come back and go, hang on a second, I always make the right decisions. I always know that the things that I'm putting out there are of value, they make sense, I know that they're going to resonate with your audience, and those types of things. So for instance, if you're a personal trainer, here's the thing that we know. I'm just looking for a piece of paper because this is kind of how I think. So if you're a personal trainer and you think about taking people from being really, unhappy in their bodies, unhappy with their weight, whatever else, and you take them to being like really amazing. Okay, that's probably not quite a very good explanation of it, but let's say that you're taking them from being super unhappy to being really, really awesome and happy and feeling good and sexy and muscly and motivated and inspired and all of this kind of thing. There is going to be different things that you are going to talk about and share while you're helping them to do this. So to me, the first thing that you probably work through is mindset, right? Usually the very first thing that you take them through. And then once you've got mindset, you might go, all right, let's actually have a look at your whole of life. Because the way that I view the world is like, if you only ever focus on just one little segment in your world, there's, each segment in your world has a direct impact and is often a mirror for other things. So mindset's really important. And then you might look at whole of life, and then you're going to probably look at nutrition. And then you're probably going to look at, let's say, movement, because depending on what you do will depend on how you help people. So in order to get people from being miserable and unhappy to being happy and feeling really good, you've got to go through mindset, whole of life, go through nutrition, and work through movement, right? This is not necessarily how you would draw your model. I'm just jamming with you for a sec. So what you might find, and this is what I want to chat with you about. So you can talk about, let's say, just because I'm just thinking about Instagram for a second. Let's say that you want to have a bikini body, or your niche of people want to have a bikini body, right? So they want to be up over here with their bikini body, with their little with the little bikinis that are really popular at the moment, going right up your crack. I don't understand that, but you know, each to their own. I don't know. What was really weird is that I remember, like, I was with the Gold Coast a couple of weeks ago, and there were young girls, like maybe 14, 15 years old, with those bathers that just kind of like disappear into the crack. They didn't even look like G-strings. They were just like, it looked like their bottoms were really hungry. So anyway, it's not my choice of bathing attire, but you know, they looked amazing, but not my choice. So this is what the goal is over here. So in order to get the bikini body, we go through mindset, whole of life, nutrition, and then movement. Now, what you might find is in the mindset section that actually what you need to talk about, and it depends on your area of expertise, right? You might talk about meditation. Hey, Dari. You might talk about goal setting. I think that's super important. And you might also talk about the power of visualization. Okay, so let's say that they're your main three things. Now, let's say in your flow state, so here they are over here. Okay, so meditation, goals, and visualization. So that they're the three big things that as a personal trainer, in order for someone to get a bikini body, they need to work on their mindset, and they're the three big things that need to be worked on first and foremost. Now, you might put together, because you're an expert in what it is that you do, hey, James, that you might run a course on meditation, right? You might decide to run a course on meditation. You might decide to do like a two-day meditate your way to a bikini body course, or a live stream session, or webinar, or workshop, or seminar, or like whatever the heck it is that you decide to do, right? So we've got the meditation that would tie into the mindset, which actually ties into them being really happy and having that bikini body that they really want. Now, this is where the flow piece comes in. You might find that through your journaling process or through your thinking while you're kind of working through your year, your marketing, your content creation, your blogging, that you're just like, oh my gosh. So you talk about the meditation first, and then you might go, you know what? All of my people are asking about nutrition. So whether they should do a cleanse, whether they should be keto, whether they should be paleo, like, is it all just a bunch of bullshit? You know, I don't know. You guys, for those of you who are personal trainers, you know this stuff better than what I do. So I'm just thinking on the fly. So you might go, oh my God, you know, I need to do something. It could be a free thing that you put out about nutrition. It could be a nutrition myth busting guide that it like shows you, proves that you actually, that nutrition is just all, it's based on your own body and what your own body can process, versus a big blanket overall thing where everybody's saying you have to be paleo or you have to be vegan or whatever the case might be. So you might find that the nutrition is the next thing that you talk about. Now, some people might look and go, hang on a second, I don't understand what you're doing. And that might derail you, right? Because you know that you're driving everybody up into being a bikini body person, but you know that they need to work through their mindset, they need to meditate, they need to set goals, they need to be able to visualize, they need to know their nutrition, we need to bust some myths, we've got to bust the whole diet industry, like all of this, that, and the other. Don't worry about what they say, right? If you're talking about all of these things and you're tying it up in a nice big red bow, like the cover of my book or my red shoes that I posted yesterday, like everything is about being healthy and achieving that bikini body. For me, everything is all about being visible, and every single course that I put out is all about that, right? At the end of the day, it's fundamentally, that's what it's about at its core. So be aware that like people won't always understand what you're doing or what you're selling or why you're doing what it is that you're doing, and that is okay. So that's one thing that I just wanted to say to you, that it's actually okay, that if you've got this overall thing that you know is about empowerment, self-love, that's probably something else that needs to come into mindset, like all of that kind of thing. It's just really, you follow your bliss, right? Follow your flow. Just make sure that it all does tie up into that overall thing. Otherwise, you know, perhaps those messages, if I don't understand what you're doing, may be warranted. The other thing that came up over the course of actually just this morning, a private client of mine brought up that there's some stuff going on in their world that is not conducive to being particularly creative, being particularly available as much as they would like. So if you don't have the ability to be able to kind of like, maybe you're actually going through a speed bump, and it might not even feel like a speed bump. Maybe it feels more like you're wading through a quagmire of quicksand that is just kind of like, like, I don't know how you write that, bubbling you, pulling you down and feeling really hard. As you know, when you're in a quagmire, or if you're in quicksand, from what the movies have shown us and cartoons, is like the more you struggle to get out, the more you sink in. So some of the best things that you can do if you are hit that speed bump, or if you're wading through quicksand, is just to stop for a minute and just breathe. Perhaps grab out your journal, because that's usually a great place to start, and start writing about how you're feeling and why you're feeling it. Because what we want to look for is, we want to look for that. I've talked about this with the Hottest Fuck Blitz. It's like we're looking for that voomness coming up your spine, re-energizing you, because that's the thing that's going to have you going like, pew, and actually getting out of that quagmire, getting out of that quicksand. It's almost like those, I think, is it a pogo stick? Those bouncy things that you can, like the sticks with the feet, and you can like boing, boing, boing. I think it's called a pogo stick. I'm not sure. But you can't use one of those in quicksand because you'd probably sink further. But you get the point. It's like we want to be able to springboard up and out of that and get you back into that flow state without you questioning, without you worrying or doubting about your ability, just knowing that this is what it is that needs to be said today, this is how it needs to be shared, and this is what needs to be done. So we don't always feel in flow. I don't always feel in flow. I don't always feel like things are easy. I don't always feel like the divine downloads, like the stuff doesn't always drop in as quickly as what I really, really want it to. And oh my God, it's freaking frustrating. But what we need to do is essentially, and I chatted about this yesterday actually in the live stream, we've got to look at ways of being able to break that seal. And it's different for different people. So some tips that you could use to break the seal in order for you to be able to get back into flow. Number one, physical activity. So physical activity where you are pushed almost to the brink is a really great way of you reactivating your flow state, like breaking that seal. So for me, it's roller derby. For some people, it might be sex. For some people, it might be going for a run. For some people, it might be going and smashing the shit out of a punching bag. Whatever it might be, just do some kind of physical activity that raises your heart rate, that changes your state, that has movement, and at the end of the day, like really feels good, right? The other thing that you can do is to journal. So like I've talked about, it's we journal even when you don't feel like anything is coming out. Keep writing. Write about all of the things. You can write about the house stuff. You can write about the kids. You can write about your partner. You can write about the leaves on the tree that you're looking at as you're sitting on your couch, like wishing that you're outside. Talk about wishing that you're outside. Do whatever you can to break that seal, because what usually happens, and this is how it relates to marketing and how it relates to business and how it relates to life actually, is that our audiences, with the people that I help and the work that I do, every one of you is in the business of helping other people. And the only way that your people get to see you, hear you, feel you is if you are showing up. And what I can guarantee you is this: if you've got a day where you are not feeling it and you write about it and you find a way, you find a hack, you find something that helps you, like a voomness and pogo stick up and out of that quagmire, then if you're writing about that, and then if you can turn that into a piece of content that adds value, that helps. It's not about getting out there and whinging and whining and moaning and going, oh, you know, this is really shit. We don't want to air your dirty laundry, but it's a really great idea for you to talk about the things, right? Even in this personal training example, this would fall right into the mindset thing. If you're not feeling motivated to get to the gym, write about it, talk about it, what's going on, what would you do, what are 3 quick things that you could do to turn it around, and then go write a blog about it and share it with your people. And the reason for that is that for most of us, our niche of people that we create the fastest result with, that we have the most fun working with, that experience the fastest amount of transformation with us, are people who are similar to us, right? So the cool thing about that is that if you've gone through stuff and if you found a way forward and you're sharing that with your audience, they'll be like, oh, bless you, thank God. I've been waiting for somebody to do this. I've tried all of these other things, and the way that you've articulated that and the suggestions that you've given, I can really use that. And then you start to see them move forward and transform. And that's when shit becomes really exciting and really fun. And guess what? Straight back into that flow state, right? One of the easiest things that you can use to get back into flow is to get out and serve your audience without expectation of them paying you, of them engaging you, or anything like that. It's just about you getting out there and talking to them. Let's get out there and help some people. Whether it was true or not, I don't know. There was a Tony Robbins, it's been written about that Tony Robbins, when I think he traded with Richard Bandler in NLP, and they'd gone through their certification, and he's like, all right, let's get out there and let's go help some people, right? And everybody else was like, oh, but we can't yet because, just get out there and help some people. And the people will show up. The people who need to hear what you have to say will show up. And it's really important that you do, right? And of course, that's all about you being visible, just in case you were wondering. And the thing that I think that most of us think is that everybody in the world, they think that everybody in the world needs to see them as being at this particular level or this particular level. And, when you've hit this amount of money or made this much money in sales or done this thing or achieved that medal or done whatever, that all of a sudden their life is all of this sunshine, lollipops, roses, and, everything else. And it's actually just not. Like, we're all human having a crazy ass human experience. We're all spiritual beings having a human experience. And I think the biggest thing for most of us is this feeling of, oh my God, it's just me. I'm all alone in this. I'm a fraud. I'm a failure. I'm a fake. All this, that, and the other. You're not. Just find a way to work through it. Like I said, with a couple of those, tips. And just remember, so long as you have got, and this is the key here, like, so long as you've got a way of making sure that everything ties in with your overall thing that you want to be known for, heard for, all that kind of stuff, everything else will be okay. If I randomly started teaching you guys how to play roller derby, like, it doesn't really tie into being visible, right? So that's where you could go, oh my God,